So, cut back to junior year of high school. I had just moved to this small private school. And for some reason, whenever I tell people I went to a private school, their immediate response is like, oh, you went to like a fancy school, like a bougie school. Okay, you're like rich, like stacked. No. The school fucking sucked. Bro, that school was like the size of a cardboard box. You would not be able to tell the difference. My entire graduating class, 29 students. Yes, the whole grade! Which sounds manageable until you realize the school had hundreds of students and absolutely no facilities to fit us all. We were stuffed into that tiny building for 2 years, like it was a storage unit for teenagers. I remember my first week coming to class. We had to sit in this tiny little lecture hall they had. I sat near like the front row, like the second row. And in my peripheral, I just see this guy just building a mouse in class. Like, no, I'm not kidding. A computer mouse. That day, he had brought 3D printed parts of that mouse, and he just had like a screwdriver in hand, just tinkering away. Meanwhile, the teacher is just up there, completely unbothered. That guy was pretty cool, but also really weird. He had this major obsession with like rhythm games. Like, oh my god, every break time, he would just pull out his big ass tablet and start... You know, I always thought I was fairly good at rhythm games. Like, I've played a bunch of them. Like, I've played the popular ones like Project Sekai and Osu. But this man was on a whole nother level. A small crowd would always gather around him every time he played. His fingers would tap at a speed unknown to mankind. He made the screen and those little keypads look like child's play. And oh my god, it was awesome. Speaking of lunchtime though, my school did not have a cafeteria. And because we didn't have a cafeteria or anything, every lunchtime, me and the girls would have to find a classroom to occupy. It was a war zone out there. Everyone was fighting over classrooms just to have somewhere to sit and eat. Some people had designated areas. Some were even auctioning off the chairs or something. Sometimes we had to eat with other grades because the classrooms were just really small. And then there was this one creepy guy in our grade. He would actually make an effort to like find us, like us girls. He'd come into whatever classroom we were eating in, and he would just sit at the back of the room, just listening to us. Not even talking, he would just listen to us. I have a lot to say about this guy, but let's just make that another video for another time. Now, to give you a mental image of how the school was laid out, there was only one staircase for 5 floors. Yes, just one. Now, most of my classes were in the 4th and 5th, so imagine going up 4 flights of stairs in the morning just to get to one class. Each floor had this narrow hallway connecting to the stairs, and along those hallways were these classrooms, and they were small. As I said, we had to eat with other grades sometimes. Because of this, sometimes the classrooms were too small to even fit all the students. Me and my classmates would be assigned a classroom for that day, and then we'd realize it couldn't even fit us all, so we'd have to find a different room, and we'd end up spending 15 to 30 minutes of actual class time just to find an available classroom. And it wasn't just us. Imagine this with other classes doing the exact same thing. So imagine the chaos that would unfold. People switching rooms, going up and down stairs, bumping into each other. It was a mess. And you're probably thinking, Aka, this is really bad, but there's no way it can get any worse than this, right? Right? Well, dear viewer, it does get worse. It gets so much worse. It was brutal. It was a sweatshop. They made us come on Saturdays and Sundays. And nope, you think it ends there? No, they made us come on Saturdays and Sundays from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 12 hours. 12 hours! We would come to school every single day of the week. And it got to a point where I couldn't even tell the difference between a weekday or a weekend. Honestly, all of this might have been survivable if the people in my grade were decent human beings. But somehow, I landed in one of the worst grades imaginable, with painfully immature guys who never emotionally left middle school. A friend told me this story one time, and it still sits wrong with me to this day. At some point, the school had hired a new accounting teacher. He was just your regular old teacher. But one day, he wore nail polish to school. And because of that, the guys started to dislike him. They started saying genuinely awful things and mocking him, throwing labels around like they meant nothing. And then one day, he just stopped coming to that school. I don't know what exactly happened, but I've always assumed he left because he was getting bullied by a bunch of immature teenagers. And that still really upsets me. Imagine tearing someone down just because they're a guy wearing nail polish. That's messed up. And so you're probably asking, Akka, how did you even end up in the school? Surely there were red flags from the beginning. And yeah, you're right, there were probably red flags. But for context, before I transferred, I already had a friend going to this school. He basically described the school to me like a complete utopia. Before I enrolled, it actually had been a tuition center, only recently transformed into a small private school. Because it was so new, so tiny, funding was tight, and that explained everything. The lack of facilities, the bare bones setup, the unfinished feeling that lingered in the halls. They didn't even have uniforms yet, and there were very few students attending at the time. Far fewer than when I initially joined. But that was the key thing. There were no uniforms. Students were free to roam, there weren't many restrictions. At the time, everything I'd heard through word of mouth said the school was genuinely good, like the teachers were exceptional. The school ran from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on weekends, but not without reason. This place was built for one purpose: improving grades. And at its core, it was a cram school. Focused, intense, designed to prepare students for their board exams. Keyword, board exams. When I heard all this, I thought it was perfect for me. I knew my board exams were coming up the next year, so I thought this school would be perfect for me. I didn't care about the missing facilities. There was no cafeteria, no sports field, but who cares? None of it mattered to me though. I assumed there wouldn't be many students joining anyway. And I hated the uniforms at my old school. This felt like a chance to start over. But conveniently, the year I enrolled, everything changed. And suddenly, they added new uniforms. The rules became stricter, and suddenly, so many more students poured in. The school did not have the facilities or the capacity to handle that kind of growth. And that's where the problem started, especially in my first year. I went from being like a straight A student to barely scraping by with C's and D's. And I won't lie, my mental health took a serious hit. By the time I realized how bad it was, it felt too late to go back to my old school. I felt guilty. I didn't want to burden my parents with another upheaval. And so I stayed. I stayed in that school. I pushed through. And I did, eventually. It cost me my sanity, but hey, I graduated. I didn't even attend the graduation ceremony. I didn't care at that point. I just wanted to get out of that place. Hello everyone, it's been quite a while since my last video, but we're back! I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that made awesome fan art of me. Like, oh my god, thank you so much! And we're nearly at 30k? Like, what? Where did you guys come from? I swear, we were at 2k last video. Insane! So, thank you for supporting me. The next few videos are gonna be fun too. So, see you till next time.